Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Today we're going to be talking about the state of the game that's going to be coming up in a few hours. The developers at Massive are going to be bringing a state of the game to the community, and this is most likely going to be very interesting. Today is September the 2nd, and they have some things that they've lined up on their roster that they want to talk about. They want to talk about a potential PTS. They probably want to be talking about a potential mode that a lot of people have been anticipating for a while, and that is the skyscraper, in quote, so-called skyscraper mode. Now, a lot of people have posited different ideas, talked about different things, talked about, the potential that it might look like some modes from the Division 1. I don't know if that's something that, players have any kind of confirmation about, but I think it's just us just hypothesizing, guessing how it'll look. I thought it was going to look like Resistance, which is the mode that we had kind of an endless wave and trying to achieve certain goals within an arena. Some people have said they feel it will look like Underground. One of the really interesting things was I was playing Underground the other day with my buddy, and, I was laughing. We were having so much fun because Underground is such a chill mode in that regard. And so, I was like, wow, it's interesting that, Underground can feel so much fun. So if they bring anything close to that, I'll be really excited to, see what it is. Now, another aspect too is, they've been looking towards addressing the loot as well. They talked about the math. Nicky Coupins, who's one of the, designers in the game, he talked about the math and how they wanted to address the rainbow loot phenomenon. And as much as rainbow loot sounds pretty decent, this game doesn't really support too many hybrid builds. Yes, there are hybrid builds that work, but we don't have as many diverse hybrid builds as we would love to. So it just makes sense that to address the rainbow loot issue, to me anyways, this is my opinion, you want to bring out builds that will showcase specific playstyles and be strong in those playstyles, and then start improving or even introducing new gear sets and brand sets that would then highlight other playstyles that may be lacking. So they have the data, they see the kinds of builds we run, they see the builds we run in specific missions. And so if they say, okay, it seems like, we don't have enough people running builds that highlight or showcase, specific areas, what do we need to do? Then they can design gear sets to encourage those gameplays, which they have been doing, don't get me wrong. And, if you come back and you look at everything so far, the community is looking forward to what they're going to announce today, because we've been waiting for new content. A lot of us have played through a lot of the old content in the game. Some of us don't want to play through some of the content. Like me, the only content piece I haven't touched is the new raid, Operation Iron Horse. And that's because I'm not really in a hurry, and I really am not a big raid fan. In fact, if anything, I'm an incursion kind of person who would prefer the old incursion style missions from the Division 1 to be in the game. But then I look back at Division 1 and I look at Division 2, and I say, it's kind of according to just one of the comments I read and responded to, I think it's a two-edged sword. We always compare both games together, and I do that a lot. In fact, I'm probably like one of the people that would jump back to the Division 1 in an instant if I had the opportunity. If you guys look through my channel, you see Division 1 content, gameplay, and commentary, even, when Division 2 was already released. And that's because that game came from a long way. But then, if we look at Division 2 and be a little bit more objective, we'll see that, there were things that were in place when this game came out. Even with the criticisms, this game came out in March of 2019, which was basically a few weeks after Anthem. Anthem was a half-baked product because EA did not do their due diligence. Tom Clancy's The Division, on the other hand, was a very decent project. The only thing was it was just oversold by, Julian Garrity. He basically came out in E3 and said they were starting to look at the game from an endgame approach. Now, if you look at the way the endgame has actually gone through, a lot of different, gone through the timeline from when the game was released, it doesn't seem like it had met up to the hype that the creative director of this game actually put out there for everybody. And if you didn't listen to E3 and all that stuff, and you came to play this game, you would say this is one of the best games ever made. But if you listen to E3 and you actually followed all of the story, you would know that this game was one of the most hyped games that you had ever seen, because the hype was sold too heavily. That's, I think, where the problem, I think that's where the problem lies, or I think that's where the problem kind of laid with the team. And then I think another thing, if you add all of that stuff, then you come back and look at, say, what had been going on within the Ubisoft structure around the time that this game was released, there is something that stands out to me, and I don't know how it, affects or how it affected the Division 2, and that is Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So when Ghost Recon Breakpoint's released, I think the nature and the state at which it was released in was just a tactical error by the development team that released it, or the management or the leadership, wherever they were at Ubisoft, that brought that game out that way. I think they brought that game out that way just to leverage a huge holiday, slush fund, rather than bring out a solid game, because Ghost Recon Wildlands was released in February of the year it was released. I think it was February 2017. Now, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, I was expecting that game would at least be released in February of 2020, but they decided to go for the 2019 holiday date, and the game was not in the right place to come out. So with its poor sales, and Ubisoft even admitting that they didn't have as much of a profit made that season of the year, I think many of those things just pummeled them, and they kind of maybe drew back a little bit from the Tom Clancy's universe or the franchise dealings that they'd always done. Yes, by different studios, but I can see how corporate saying we're not getting a huge purse from these two franchises, even though one of them is the one that failed and the other one did decently well. Then you also look at some other tiny little sales decisions as well, that massive, and I don't know if it's Ubisoft corporate that made these decisions, but they decided to take the Division 2 and make it exclusive to Epic Games Store. Now think about that. Steam has a huge player base, Yes, Steam charges 30% for their, for one of their fees regarding, sales. And I don't think they were confident in their sales. And in fact, I think they must have even done their studies and done their, research and seen that, okay, the Division 2 will most likely not sell as much as the Division 1, possibly because of pre-order numbers, possibly because of a lot of things that changed, like, the people who are getting the higher editions were going to be getting some benefits, but the community kind of railed against it. And they took that, that possibility of having more sales and having more of a community on the Steam marketplace and put it on Epic Games. I don't know if you guys know, they've announced also, it was a very small, tiny announcement, but they actually hinted that the game was going to be coming to Steam later down the road. In my opinion, I just, I hold my head going, why in the first place did you guys throw away one of the biggest PC player bases just so that you could, maybe try to leverage a little bit of a percentage? And that was, in my opinion, a failed marketing strategy. Steam may be expensive, but it makes sense that if you want to reach a broader audience, that your game be at least available on that platform. They've built themselves to actually be that platform, and over the years, I'm not saying Steam is a saint, I'm not saying Steam is the best thing in the world, I'm just saying that it really has put a dent on their, their future goals and their future plans. Now, from today's state of the game, the community is going to be looking and saying, you guys need to deliver. I think the reason we're still seeing them and the reason we're still having state of the game is because they have something on the back burner. I don't know if it's a year 3 content piece or a Division 3 content piece, but I think something with the Division franchise is in the works, and they are still keeping the community up to date. They're still engaging with the community because they want this community to participate in whatever they have coming next. I don't know if it's a single player Division game, like Julian Garrity had, hinted in some talks with some other developers on Twitter, I think months ago. I don't know if it's, a whole full-fledged Division 3 game, but I think Massive is up to something with the Division franchise. And this is not even the Avatar talk. This is something with this game and the franchise and the community. So today's state of the game is going to be interesting. It's going to really show the community exactly where we are as a community. People have said the developers don't care about the game. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think what we're seeing is a lot of leadership issues that, exist in many cases. And then we're seeing things that may have emerged from, poor sales decisions, overhyping a game, spending too much on marketing, then delivering. When you overpromise and underdeliver, that has always, been a thing that Ubisoft gets accused of more frequently than not. And I think this game is no exception to that. And then, the final piece is, the potential that they want to sell future games. That's another thing people need to consider. This is a studio that its only goal is to make money by selling video games. And if you already have an existing audience, they are the very best means to sell whatever game you're making before you appeal to a broader audience. Ubisoft right now, they are facing a lot of credibility issues, and for them to go and pull an audience from a distance is a very challenging thing for them to do. I mean, they put out a slew of video games in their Ubisoft Forward event, and they were even still in the middle of, some controversy corporately that, all of that is still based on a lot of allegations, but still, if they want to appeal to the broader audience, they also have to make sure that they appeal to their core audience as well. And today's state of the game is going to be a very huge anchor point on how and if and, whatever means they want to at least try to appeal to the audience that we have in this game. So this is basically my opinion and my thoughts looking forward to when that state of the game goes live. If you're in the community, let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. If you're still playing the game, or if you're not playing the game, or if you're looking to see if you will ever play the game, I also want to hear from you. That's it from me. I appreciate you guys' time and audience, and we'll see hopefully in another video. Peace.